Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Weekly Tall Talk. My name is Xavier Chapman. You're one of your hosts for this episode. Normally, we start off with a would you rather or a short story. But before we get into that, I'd like to introduce my two other co-hosts. Corey, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. I had a really good day. Work was pretty easy. I had some mushroom fries. I had a Beyond Burger. I felt a little healthy, and then I took a nap and then realized it wasn't as healthy as I thought.
Hey, that's good, man.
Yeah. So it was chill. I mostly got to relax. I didn't actually have to write anything today. I just fucking zoned out when I could, which was good. Most of my work. But I can't focus on that right now because I'm not being paid. Cale, our other co-host. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing well, guys. You out there listening won't know this, but we're prepping for our camping trip. We're going to be getting out of this town pretty soon. So I was just running around putting up the tents, doing all kinds of stuff today after I got off work. So a little busy. I left stuff to the last minute like I always do. But I feel like I thrive under pressure. So that was good. Work's always the easy part. So, hey, right before this, Debbie brought me some street tacos and I scarfed them down in the kitchen.
Ooh,
Angels, bro. Angels, but she gave me the spicy sauce. So I'm a little hot and bothered right now, but that means I'm geared up, ready to go. But enough about me. No one really cares. Xavier. You're the host with the most. They want to know. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you. Had a pretty easy day at work. It was pretty mellow. I was falling asleep most of the time.
Oh, we can't have that. There you go. Call his boss, Corey.
Yeah. But other than that, it was pretty good. Didn't have to drive anywhere and just kind of chilled at work and got some work done. So, but yeah, it was a good day.
Very nice.
Good.
Now, with our introductions put aside, we're going to go on a pretty interesting would you rather for this episode.
I like it.
Hit us with it, man.
There it is. So, would you rather take back something you said one time per person you meet?
Okay.
Or know how someone felt about you after your first conversation with them? So they kind of like go in a little bit for the first part. Take back something you said. If you saw something or you realized, oh man, I didn't want to say that.
Yeah.
Just rewind time a bit. Then you could say what you could redo what you wanted to say.
We would solve foot and mouth disease.
I think so.
It's true. I mean,
maybe
both
not
of
the
these
hand, foot, and mouth disease, but
very beneficial in their own right.
These are probably the nicest scenarios we've set up for ourselves.
Right. We actually took it easy. It seems like a little bit. I mean, I don't know how the rest of the episode goes, but for an opener, this is pretty all right.
Yeah, we don't really have to bear the responsibility of stupidity. We can always correct going forward.
Exactly.
It's a get out of jail free card right there.
Right. So, Cale, I'm picking on you today.
Yeah,
first one.
Put this bitch ass in the hot seat.
What the hell? Damn, the hostility.
Sorry, listen, Cale.
Yeah, take that back.
If I could, I would take that back, but we can't.
It's
a lie. We're live. There's no editing.
Damn it. This is always how it goes. I feel like I'm a pretty impatient person, so I usually spout off a little bit. I'm kind of a passionate person, a little quick to trigger.
This man pops off in traffic.
Oh, dude. Good thing they don't have the mics in the cars at work because I'll be unemployed.
The work vehicles.
I will be working with one of you guys. No, I definitely, my narcissism leads me to choice 2 for sure. Easy choice. Knowing how someone feels about you after having a conversation with them for the first time could definitely set the tone. It's always a guessing game. You can always think, oh, that went really well, or I like that person. And they just were not into it, or you're not getting the job, or any kind of thing. For you to know, it would be an easier pill to swallow, whatever the choice was, or however they felt about you, rather. Yeah, I mean, I would want to know.
Right on.
But I also have said a lot of dumb things and just sometimes out of spite, sometimes out of everything. So, I mean, I would like to take stuff back, but that outweighs my stupidity. I'll have to suffer the consequences this time.
I think too, like it'd be a lot easier to know like how somebody felt about you after the first conversation. Cause like you can really gauge whether or not you want to go and interact with that person further. Like even if you feel like you nailed it, you're still walking away with your own feelings on that person you talked to.
Exactly.
You know,
it's always a guessing game unless somebody is very straightforward and tells you, hey, I like you.
Yeah.
Which happens 0% of the time. So, it takes the guessing out of it. And, you know, sometimes you say, oh man, that takes the spontaneity out of things. But like, I truly feel like I wouldn't feel that way. I feel like I would get a better feeling out of knowing that even if it's a negative interaction, I feel like I would want to know.
Right on. That's good.
You wouldn't be more spontaneous? Because then you could go around and meet every single person you ever see and know how they felt about you immediately.
That would just pique that curiosity.
Yeah. You're working a job where you interact with people for the first time on a daily basis, like the service industry or something.
Right. Hospitality, service industry. You're like perpetually meeting people. So I guess my job's a little bit different. So my day-to-day life, I would kind of have to go out of my way, I think, to meet new people.
Right. Yeah. You're not meeting new people every day.
No, not for me or not. And even if I do meet people or see people for the first time, I don't have conversations with them the majority of the time, unless I'm helping somebody. So yeah, to be able to know that, yeah, I mean, my narcissism was for sure a factor in this one, but, what about you, Corey? How are you feeling on this one? I opted for that versus, like you said, solving foot and mouth disease.
Yeah, I would go for the cure, man. I would want to take back something I said one time per person. And we're going to go into this a little bit later in the episode, but I always think of how I say things, what I'm saying. I always try and choose like the proper terminology to communicate myself as well as possible. And there are just times in my life where I wish I could just take back that one thing, because a lot of the jobs that I have had are in the service industry or where I'm meeting people for the first time often. Like in the art world, you're meeting with new clients and you want to make a really good impression. But if I fuck up that first impression, that costs me, not just financially, but also like in growing a social network as well, or gaining trust. Oh, sure. So I would rather fuck up that conversation royally. Just know that I'm going into it, just bombing that conversation, gauging how they react to the points that I made, and then just redo that conversation. But I got a little bit of a question about it since you're the world master, Xavier.
Yes.
Is it like I fuck up the conversation and I get to start my day over at 6 a.m, or like do I get to rewind the conversation? Like how does that interaction look like?
So you would rewind about up to 10 to 15 seconds of that conversation.
10 to 15 seconds. Okay.
Yeah. So instead of having to redo the whole conversation, it wouldn't be like a Groundhog Day type thing where you could rewind the whole day, start over from when the time you woke up. But it would be up to 10 seconds. Let's just say 10 seconds to make it just an even number there. You have up to 10 seconds to rewind and redo whatever you messed up on.
So in those with those like kind of guidelines for this, you would really have to rely on self-awareness of like, ooh, that was bad, or have the other person have a reaction to where you would be able to pick up on it, right?
Yeah,
if someone was a pretty good poker face, you would have to just have an inkling of, oh, I probably shouldn't have said that, or have your own, like I said, self-awareness for things. And hopefully you're aware to catch it, because 10 seconds, I mean, that goes by pretty quick. So
that does go by pretty quick.
You would have to catch it, or I would think of this if I was putting myself into the situation, it would be more things of lashing out's not the right word, but saying something out of the heat of the moment or a passionate thing would be more of the time that I would probably regret saying something. So maybe I'm making it that way, but a lot of people don't lash out. A lot of people are adults. So,
and I think that's a really interesting way of looking at it too, Cale, because I was thinking about like the first time interactions that I had with this people, but you're right. We're saying that you can take back something you've said one time per person. If you're, I guess, trying to be smart about this, you would keep this in your hand, right? You're dealt a hand of cards, and that's something that I would hold close to my chest. That would be my trump card for this, is like, what? I've established a really good relationship or rapport with somebody, and there was just one conversation 2 or 3 months in that I just flubbed. And I need to backtrack on that. So I'm gonna use this. That's my whammy. Thank you for giving me a better relationship going forward.
Right.
Yeah,
I could definitely see the use in that, man.
Yeah. Be smart about it. That's because it's your one-time thing for one person. So one use only.
Yeah,
right. For sure.
All right, but what about you, Xavier? Which choice are you making? Because you're a people person. You got a lot of personality.
I was thinking about taking something back, like doing the one-time thing. But I also have a need to feel like I don't like to be disliked, if that makes any sense. I hate
who does,
right? Yeah. I hate disappointing people and stuff like that. So maybe I think I'd pick the second question. How someone felt about you after the first conversation.
Oh yeah.
Because sometimes if you're trying to make a good impression, especially like it's like a job interview or something, or you're trying to get a promotion for work, or something that in that regard, knowing how your first impression went, how you left an impression on that individual you talked to, or whoever it is, whoever it may be, I think it would be of benefit to me. No, sure. I did this. I made a good impression. I don't have to worry about the next thing, or the flip side of that. Oof, I really bunked that one.
Yeah,
and they don't like me.
They don't like that. Yeah,
and then maybe they'll let me know. Hey, maybe I just lay off that person or not interact if they don't care for me or something like that. So
how do you guys think it would go though? Like if the first conversation you had with your new bosses at a new place that you got hired onto, you found out that they did not like the interaction, but you know what? You got the job and you're there.
Do you course correct? That is a good point. I think so. At least in that regard, if you know how they felt, now you have an idea. Okay, I didn't leave this good impression on them, but now I'm going to work hard to turn that around. Now that I know what their first face value is, their judgment of my character by that first interaction, I'm going to try to change the way they see me, and try to leave a good impression on them the next time we have a conversation. Yeah. Especially if it's something like in a workplace where you want to cooperate with your employer and your bosses and your other coworkers and stuff like that. So I think that would definitely lead you on to trying to course correct, like you said, Corey.
So then I guess I got a question for both of you guys. Since you can only tell by the first conversation how they felt, how does that change things going forward? Because you can course correct, but you'll never know how they feel going forward.
That's true.
Maybe you're just like extending the thorn within their side, and you just don't even know.
I would not say lately, but maybe like the last few years, we're getting older, and I've just been much more straightforward about things. And I wish more people would take that route, even if it stings, man. Yeah. Just say what you gotta say, because the guessing game and the overanalyzing, the overthinking is exhausting. Absolutely. And if you can spare people that, just do it. I mean, you don't need to like maliciously go after somebody or say this and say there's ways to not be terribly confrontational, but like if everybody was just a little more straightforward, we wouldn't have to make up a magic wish to figure out if you like me or not.
Yeah.
But a lot of people there's two parts to it. A lot of people don't like confrontation, and a lot of people don't realize that confrontation doesn't always have to be bad. There can be like a solution to having a conflict. Exactly. So
yeah.
Right.
Moving forward, you wouldn't know, but I mean, you would just hope that people are civil. It's like if you're working together, if you're not like thoroughly just making their life hell or like doubling their workload or something like that, like get over it, man. You know?
Yeah. Yep.
There's degrees to everything. I mean, if you're just terrible, then, you know,
you're not going to go far.
Yeah. You're not gonna make it.
And it would suck knowing that you're terrible after every conversation you ever have. Just like everybody fucking hates me. What's wrong with you? Fuck you.
Like, I guess I'm the problem.
Yeah. No, there would be no self-evaluation at that point.
No, if you're getting bombarded with like, oh my God, I can't stand this guy. You're just like, oh shit. That's just me.
It just becomes too much for that one person. Like, you know what? It's not me that's the problem. It's everyone else.
It's everyone else. All 7 billion of you.
The world is
The world is against me. You're going to do this to me. Just turn it on everyone.
Oh, man.
But being able to take something back that you said, oh, what a gift that would be.
Well, I think we should have a little more discussion about this maybe after our break.
Hello there. My name is Cale Miller, creator and host of the Weekly Tall Talk. I would like to say thank you for listening to today's episode. If you like what you've been hearing, we would love to know what you think. After the episode, don't forget to leave a comment or reach out to us on our socials, where you can find us at the Weekly Tall Talk. We're excited to say that we're working on a couple other awesome projects for this year. If you would like to know more about that, or to find out what else we've been working on, we have a Patreon and Discord that you can subscribe to, where we can be found at Tall Tale Network. If you have any other questions or ideas of what you'd like us to discuss on the show, please email us at talltalenetwork@gmail.com.
All right, everyone. Welcome back from those ads. Now, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
We're going to get into this next bit here. What's something that you regret saying aloud that you would take back instantly? So if we all have the ability to take back something once, what would be something that you guys would regret saying?
Is this something from like our first time meeting or just in general?
Maybe just in general. And you don't have to get too deep into it, but what would be something that would be, Cale?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I'm going to get as deep as it goes.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
I was coming back from work one day and my dad had been at home. One of the countless projects, you guys know how I grew up, just nonstop yard work and projects and this and that, and just my whole life. And, you know, I was really tired from work and he was like, oh, can I get your help over here? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, in a few minutes, just let me go chill out, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, I heard him do some sawing anyway. And I just had a gut feeling and I was just like, oh my God, man. And I turned back the corner before I went in the house. And that's when this piece of wood fell and hit him in the leg. And I could tell it was a big thing. It was a big piece of like plywood or something like that. So I'm like, he's older. That's going to be a problem.
It's going to sting a little.
Yeah. So I started screaming at him. Like I had immense respect for my dad, but it just like pissed me off. I was just like, why couldn't you just wait freaking 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Instead of doing it. And, you know, I kind of just yelled at him. I'm like, why are you like this? Like, why can't you just wait? I said it, blah, 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 blah. I was just frustrated and I was just screaming at him and I could tell he was in pain and then just, you know, kind of disappointed that I feel that like I was talking to him like that. And then as you guys know, that was the reason he basically passed away. That piece of wood hitting his leg led to an infection, led to the amputation, led to
didn't know that.
Like, yeah. So I don't blame myself for like that. I do, but I honestly don't, because he made his own choices and he lived his life. But I was just like, you know, that's been one of the major regrets of my life is A, like that happened, and B, that in that moment, that was the starting domino of why he passed away. I yelled at him.
Yeah.
And, you know, I wish I could take that back. I had such love for him, and I just really wish I didn't yell at him like that. I mean, there have been other times I'd lost my temper and this and that, but that one sticks out of my mind as like the most prevalent thing of like, take that back. I've been in vicious arguments with people before and really heated conversations and this and that. And you guys know me, I'm kind of a quick tempered person sometimes, and just, you know, you say shit you don't mean, but that one outweighs everything for me. I just wish I had not patience, but like, just don't do that. You know, you didn't need that on top of getting hurt and on top of this other stuff. So that's just my glaring, if there was ever a time to redo something, it was that one. Yeah. For me. So.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't beat yourself up on that, because, you know, we do with the ones that we love the most, our family, really, we tend to treat them a certain way. And if, you know, you see, oh, he got hurt, and you're like, well, I told you to wait for me. You know, that happens a lot, like, you know, with me, for example. Like I get irritated too when I see someone, you know, my family get hurt. I'm like, well, why did you do that? You know, it's like,
exactly.
You didn't need to do it this way, but yeah, it's kind of, it comes from like, you see that they're hurt, but all of a sudden you come off at like angry. Oh yeah. It's like, that didn't need to happen, because I told you I was going to help you with this, or I was going to do that. You didn't need to go do that. But yeah, I mean, it is family though, you know, and family, we hold family deeper or differently. But I wouldn't beat yourself up or hang up on that, because that's you know, it's like guilt sometimes is a useless emotion and stuff. But I just wonder, man, I just knew that was a problem. Like the second I saw it, I had this gut wrenching, just awful, nauseous feeling. And sure enough, you know, day later he's in the hospital, and then all these things happen, and then, you know, came home on hospice, and just like, oh my God, man.
I think it comes, like, as we're saying, especially with family, like it comes from a place of sincerity and vulnerability, and that anger. Were I to put myself in your shoes for a minute, would be like, you know, like just like you're saying, this didn't need to happen. If I could have been respected and saying, you know, give me a few minutes, I will join you, things will be okay. Like you want so badly for things to have just gone a different way, that we can really put it on like ourselves, saying like, no, don't do that. Just wait, just hold on. Right. And like, it didn't matter, because the choices, like you said, were made by your dad in the moment. And it's hard because you had that interaction before the bad thing happened. Right. You were aware of the hardships that might come out of this. And then when your back was turned and you just wanted a moment to yourself, the bad thing happened. Right. And that's how a lot of these incidents happen, you know? Right.
It was just such a gut shot, man. Because it's like, you know, you guys know this, but he had his first heart attack when I was like 12. And I had like perpetually worried about him and tried to take care of him. And I was kind of forced in this different light of like a normal father-son relationship, just out of, you know, he was fine. He managed himself and stuff like this, but I had super high anxiety all the time. I was always worried about coming home and he'd be dead or this or that. Yeah. And it's just to like go through all this time, all these years, all these things to protect him and make sure he's okay and do all these other things for him to do it to himself. I was just like, it was such a frustrating thing. Like I can't even like express just fucking wait a minute. Yeah. You know, and I was just like, that's my impatience of not wanting to jump on something. It's the timing of him, like waiting all day for me to get home, me not wanting to do it. And like, you know, just not a bad dynamic or anything, but then he's just like, oh, I'll just do it. And I'm just like, you know, and then your mind starts to wander. You always do the what if crap. Yeah. Which is never helpful. It never works. It's never good for you. But I'm just like, I mean, something else probably would have happened to him realistically. I mean, when he died, he was 85. So, I mean, realistically, something else would have happened. But it was like, if that didn't happen, how many more years? Sure. You know? And I do, it's not resentment, but I always do have a like, why couldn't you just stop?
Yeah, that's the start of the slippery slope right there.
Right. And then you just pull yourself out of it because I mean it does nothing to go down these things, but
our brains they do good, but sometimes they do terrible things for ourselves.
Like
we get in our own heads.
I cannot.
Like Cale alluded to, guilt is one of the weirdest emotions that we can feel because like in the animal world, if I'm going to personify it, like you got to do what you got to do to survive. And those emotions aren't as outward there when we're seeing lions, going and attacking food because it's food.
Right.
Whereas we personify, we put empathy into everything and everyone and every situation. And a lot of that is a feedback loop into how we walk away from the situation and remember things.
Right.
Yeah. Our emotions, our brain calculates things and places these types of feelings and emotions, and it just racks our head with stuff like that. And
can't turn it off.
You can't, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to turn it off. It's hard to get out of your own head.
But at the same time, a lot of these can be learning experiences. And I'll answer your question next, Xavier. There was a learning experience that I had, something that I regretted saying out loud when I was younger, that actually completely changed who I was in terms of how I spoke. Like I said, like I earlier, I always go for the best word that I can think of to communicate as clearly and effectively. And like growing up, when we grew up in the 90s and 2000s, it was acceptable to call things retarded. And I have cut that word from my vocabulary because of this instant that I will describe. I was 14, 15 years old, so 2005 or so. And I was in a burger joint with my mom and one of my friends. And we were leaving the burger joint and they had two push doors that opened and one of them was locked and the other one was open that had a line going out the door. Now, I didn't know the other push door was locked. So when I went to push it, I hit it and I fucking smacked my nose on the glass because I was just walking into the door expecting it to do the thing that I wanted. And I go, oh my God, I'm so fucking retarded. And like, I ignored it and I walked out of the burger restaurant and like, I was halfway into the parking lot before I realized that my mom and my friend weren't with me. And I turned around and I saw this girl. She was like maybe 10 years old. She was bawling her eyes out in the restaurant at the register. Her mom was consoling her. All of the patrons had like come and said, no, things are okay. And my friend like finally breaks out. And he comes up to me. He's like, what the fuck is your problem? I was like, whoa, what did I do? And he says, listen, man, everybody in the restaurant heard you hit that door really hard and then just scream the word retarded while looking at this little girl. She has Down syndrome. Oh, wow. And I was like, whoa, like that's not
my intention.
Me. That's not where my mind was at. I did something dumb and I used the most inappropriate phrase possible.
Right.
So like if I could take back a moment in history, it would be that. But at the same time, I learned so much about empathy and how we use words in our real life. And like it was a valuable lesson. But goddamn, did I hurt that little kid?
And you didn't mean to.
No.
It wasn't malicious.
Yeah. It wasn't malicious, but I get what you're saying though, because that would stick with me. Like thinking about that.
I mean, and the way I place it, it's like I said a slur. And somebody that slur is appropriate for heard it.
It affected them, and it affected them that way. Yeah.
Right. And like, like I think about that like often. And so I always cringe when I hear the hard R. In fact, I'll probably bleep it from a lot of this, but it's something that emotionally affected me.
I get that.
Yeah.
But totally get that. Like you said, learning experience, but like, this is the opportunities out of like confrontation that good can happen. Right. To where you've taken this and been like, hey, man, I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to do this. I want to be careful with what I say, which is if all of us were a little more careful with what we say, a lot of these problems wouldn't be problems.
Right.
So like I said, not all conflict has to be a negative thing. your conflict ended up being a positive for you. So
yeah, it's all about mindfulness going forward. And that's something that I've tried to focus on. And I think I've gotten better. I think a lot of my speeches, I've cut down on a lot of the negative slurs that I have, for lack of a better term.
Right.
Hey, that's good, man. Yeah, that's, I mean, if I was in your shoes, in that situation, I'd wish I could just shrink up and disappear.
Yeah,
for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, because again, like I was only like 15 or so. It was at the moment where I was like, God damn,
growing pains.
My emotions are high on this.
Oh,
but Xavier, we got to hear from you, man. When did you?
Here we go. Here we go. Finally,
when do
Mr. Golden Boy.
What do you mean? Yeah, it's like what Cale said. You're the golden god.
Get out.
No,
come down here with us.
Never even once.
Always flawed.
No. Perfectly flawed.
Perfectly flawed. There's a lot of things that I would wish to take back. A lot. But trying to think of, I think, having, arguments and stuff with significant others, family members or your loved ones and or spouses. Sometimes you do say things that you don't mean, but in that fit of anger and rage, you're blindsided. You can't really see the other picture or the other person, how they're feeling or in their shoes. You're not thinking about them. At the moment you're thinking about, okay, I need to defend myself because I'm being attacked or I'm being wronged, and like, I don't see any other way but my own.
Yeah, you say, fuck me, fuck you.
Yeah, right. And it's, you put on those blinders and you're just like, oh, I'm so angry, blah, blah, blah. So, there's things like that it's a lot, it is learning and I'm still trying to learn. I'm 33 years old and I think life is always a learning. Everything is learning. You learn as you go. You learn from the mistakes. Being human, you make the same mistakes a lot.
Yeah.
I do.
It doesn't stop everybody out there. It never fucking stops.
It never does.
It never ends.
You keep tripping.
You're perpetually stumbling through life. And hopefully you have more good times than bad.
Not a damn one of us know what we're doing ever.
Nope.
Literally never.
And that's the game of life. Trying to figure it out and trying to learn from, past errors and past mistakes. I think there's some choice words and conversations that I would want to take back that, it's, because like once you say something, can't take it back.
Right.
It's already been said.
Right.
The toothpaste is out of the bottle.
Exactly. Can't put it back in.
Yep.
Be impossible.
Yeah. And it's like, even if you say something and you're like, I was just high on emotion and I did not mean that. That other person, does not matter. You said
they heard it from your mouth.
It hurt me real bad. Especially with a spouse. I'm very much guilty of this, of like saying something out of how much I care about you. I lash out at a situation. Yep. And then the person you care about the most is the one that gets hurt by what you said. I'm like, that is such a double-edged sword because you're feeling all these complex emotions, including anger. I wouldn't say I'm perpetually angry, but I definitely have I would say intense. It has been brought up many times for me over my life. So I get what you're saying. You just get so wound up sometimes and you just spout off this shit. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. It's almost instant too, but it's like you said, like Corey said, it's done. It's done.
I think the most human part about this is just knowing that like everybody is going to do this at some point. If you don't do it at least once, you're going to do it multiple times throughout your life. And you're going to have to sit there, understand what you said, apologize to yourself about it, apologize to the person or the people that you wronged. And then you got to move on and not like shove it into a corner. Just assess what you did and then move on getting better at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like we're getting better at these ads.
Perfect.
it's your boy Mason from Men of Misfortune here. We're a comedy podcast with 3 different segments. We cover anime/pop culture, true crime, and bizarre news, all while taking on some interviews. We drink, we smoke, and we know how to have a good time while making you feel like you're a part of the show. Find us anywhere you get your podcasts. And don't forget to check out our Patreon for bonus content. And for more updates, follow us on Instagram at Men of Misfortune. Remember, stay misfortunate and always listen to Mom. Now, back to your regularly scheduled program.
All right, and we're back from those ads. Thank you, everyone. Now, for this next segment, gentlemen.
All right.
Let's say we all picked the ability to understand how someone felt about our first conversation. Let's say we all picked that one right off the bat. But what if somebody who has this ability is starting off as a child, though? Because we're already in our mid-30s. Well, what if this individual is starting their light off as a kid? They can read the other person that they interact with and know their immediate reaction and take away from that. How does somebody develop mentally their whole life, knowing how their counterparts feel after the conversations they had with them? So, like, how does somebody going from maybe 2 years old all the way up into adulthood, and living on? Like, how do you guys think? How would that shape somebody?
I think that your name would have to be Deanna Troy, and you would probably get hired on as a psychologist aboard the next generation's The Enterprise.
Yes.
Yeah, you'd have to be an alien, some kind of freak outside. It would be hard, man. How do you live like this as a child and learn, like, because let's start with the age of children, right? They're quick. Yeah. Their judgments are snap judgments. If things don't work or they don't understand how they work, they're either mad about it or they forget it and they walk around.
Oh, yes.
Right? Like how and especially interactions with kids and other kids, like Xavier, you showed me this video the other day of your daughter and her good friend arguing in the back of the car, but they were very funny about it. They're kids. Yeah. And like, if your daughter picked up on the emotions of this other child, and the other child, let's say, for the sake of this argument, that they were feeling hatred or anger, and then your child picks that up, they've only experienced anger from wherever else in life that they've seen it, your house or what have you. So like,
oh sure,
that would put a large stress on anybody who would be born with these powers.
Oh yeah, that would totally be rough for them. I think, because like you said, like children, their attention spans and quick to anger. Like, well, my daughter, for example, if she can't figure something out on a toy or can't put it back together, she just gets mad.
Yeah.
Yep. Chuck it.
And, I'll show her how to do it. Oh, okay. Let me do it. Can't do it. quick to anger and stuff like that. But,
and kids are truly the meanest humans that we have.
Oh yeah.
Because
they're the bluntest.
Yeah, they're just honest. They're
just honest.
They'll come up to you and say, "Hey, fatty," and you're like, "What?"
You're like, all right.
I know that wasn't taught.
Oh yeah. You're just like, okay, you little.
Yeah, exactly. You little shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's just their minds haven't done the thing of either like, oh, that's not nice, or this or that. They have no concept of that. It's just how you associate with someone.
Yeah.
You're like, you're old as hell. You're like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, I feel like you would pick up a lot of anxieties at a very early age, being this hard of an empath.
Yeah, Cale, what do you think?
I definitely agree with that. I feel like if you're a little bit out of the box, which I kind of feel like we all are, this would be very hard growing up, because any kind of, eccentric behavior that you have, or trying to be your true self or figure yourself out or go through, if that's met with negativity, especially being a kid, that would be kind of scarring, I would imagine. Like, I could see this killing a lot of individualism for kids.
Yeah.
If you think a little bit differently, or you problem solve a little bit differently, and you express this somehow in a first conversation, or if you partner up with somebody in school, or, you know, you meet your teacher and they're like, oh God, this kid's going to be a nightmare. I mean, that would be pretty sad. I mean, for a kid.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah. That's a good point, dude.
Yeah. An adult's judgment on a child.
Right. Cause you got, oh man.
So you're getting it from teachers or, you know, other kids. And then, you know, we talk about kids being hard, but dude, imagine like, you know, high school would be brutal.
Dude, junior high, I think, would be the killer.
Junior high would be brutal.
Because that's when you're like developing who you are as like your adult
individual.
Person. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would just be hard all the way around. I mean, I could see this being very surface level. Like, let's say, just for argument's sake, you're very good looking, or you're a good looking kid.
Yeah, let's just say that, Cale.
I'll say it. But I mean, you're probably going to have an easier time than somebody who's not as good looking as you. Or, you know, something, you know, I don't know the right verbiage, but if there's anything that makes you a little more abnormal, if there's a little extra thing, like even being tall or being a little extra short or this or that, like there's so many factors that kids are dumb as hell, and they'll like hold on to whatever. And I say that not in like a spiteful way, but it's just like, you don't think about what you're saying. Like, I mean, like I said, we've offended people and like been mean without knowing you're mean.
Yeah.
You know, it's outside of the norm. Oh, it's impolite to stare. It's impolite to point, blah, blah. Kids don't know that.
Yeah. Or ask like about disabilities that are physical.
Right.
Like what happened to you? And then you got to sit there and explain to the kid, or you say, listen, I don't got time. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Would you mind your business, you little punk?
Why don't you shut the fuck up?
Just shut up. Where are your
And
parents?
then the kid walks away from that interaction being told to shut the fuck up.
Every interaction I've ever had.
I really think that, like, listen, if we're going by the straw man logic and we're setting up this person who has this ability, like I would have to assume that they would be a very, very vulnerable person for the first 20 years of their life.
I would agree with you, because that would be just thinking just in the examples that you guys were giving, like there's a lot that a little kid will have to go through. Getting that instant feedback, or just like a teacher or something, or I can't imagine what mental stress that would be putting on that little child's brain.
Yeah,
right. At that very beginning, like
every day, and then you're perpetually meeting new people every school year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Summer camp, anything really. I mean, you're like constantly meeting new people, and your parents' friends are like, "Oh God, they shouldn't have had this kid."
Absolutely,
like,
that kind of stuff. Like,
I mean, it could come from anybody, man. And you know,
absolutely.
And we're not. You know, you can white lie and have your own thoughts to yourself, but whenever you're laser beaming that into a kid's brain, like you're not aware that you're doing that. So,
man,
like you said, vulnerability would be sky high. I think it would be like a lot of anxiety inducing, especially if you have enough negative interactions. If you have positive ones, then, you know, you'd be excited to meet people and like you take the good with the bad. But if it's
lots of negative
more
stuff.
Negative than
but you have to be the happiest person on this planet and do the nicest thing for people and still experience very, very negative stuff. And like I talked about working a lot in the service industry. That's just how it goes. Like everybody that you meet at a restaurant, a cafe, or in a store that is trying to do something for you, they want to do it to their best of their ability. They're not there to fail you. Like it's such a rarity that that's ever the case. And there are some times where you do your best and you still fail. And what happens if you failed this stranger, you failed to meet the expectations that they had before meeting you. And now their demeanor of not only the place that you're at changes, but their ideas of you change.
Oh yeah, you're incompetent or you're this
exactly,
or that.
and then you take it on yourself.
Right.
And like where I'm going to extend this to is like, Cale, you brought up teachers. Like teachers outside of our parents are the ones that we look up to for the first 18 plus years of our lives. They're the authority in our life, telling us yes, no, and then giving us guidance. And if we meet teachers that have this, I don't want to deal with this fucking kid again, like mentality, like you're going to take it to heart.
Oh, yeah.
And your views on authority are going to develop from those interactions.
Yeah. Unless you're a psychopath.
And we talk about like comments. And while we haven't had a lot of YouTube or comments or negative stuff, like everything that I know about being on a social platform is like, you'll get 10 very nice comments and then one very, very mean comment. And that one comment is what sticks out to you. And that's how like I'd imagine this straw man goes, is like the one negative interaction sticks out the most in 100 positive interaction day.
Yeah, especially for a kid.
That's true. Yeah.
If we're approaching it, I mean, this is true for adults, but I believe it would be amplified for a child.
I agree totally, Cale. I think that it would be a little more of a heavy hitter for a kid in that moment, because then they're still developing like their emotions, their thought processes and stuff like that, how they process things that are coming in, like a simple thing. Oh, we need to take this away from you because we need to put it away right now because you don't need to be, we got to put this thing away. Oh, it's end of the world. You are ruining my good time.
You've wronged them.
You've wronged them.
Yeah, you've hurt me.
Their emotions aren't developed fully. Their their brain isn't developed fully. So it's like, imagine going through life like that. Like, I can only imagine just negative things happening to that individual.
Yeah, unfortunately, and maybe that's a critique of how society is right now, of just everybody being so nasty to each other all the time.
It's true.
So are there positives to this of knowing how all your life, how people are going to respond to you from the very first conversation you have? Like, I feel like maybe later in life, it may you might choose a career in a more empathetic profession, like going into therapy or something like that.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that would, if they can get through life this way, they definitely need to have some help from their parents for sure. But I think that they could maybe turn this talent for good, like you said, Corey, to be a psychiatrist to help people talk through traumas or talk through daily issues that they're having, or maybe that could be a benefit for this child if they make it up.
Understanding others on an empathetical note is like key.
Yeah.
And I think this definitely would force you to have thick skin. This makes me think of like a boy named Sue. Like, you're going to be tough through all of this adversity. If you, for lack of a better term, survive this, you're going to be stronger for it, to be able to like mentally handle whatever anyone has to say to you, good or bad. Yeah. You're on another threshold of being able to handle interactions or handle like negativity and just throw it away.
Right.
Yeah. Just let it bounce off
see you again. Get out of my face.
The best mantra to have in the back of your mind is you'll never see 99% of the people you'll see.
Exactly. So I'm picking my nose in the car. I'm not going to see you again.
Dude, those windows, they're straight up barriers. You can't see into other people's cars.
See. If I can't see you, you can't see me. Idiot.
That's how it works. That's how it works.
And what I do with and where I put that booger on the side of the car seat, that's me. That's my car.
Right. It's my car. I can booger whatever I want.
Oh my God.
Don't look at my visors. So
imagine you go to look in the mirror down and it's just cake just everywhere.
Just on the mirror itself.
Speaking of that, this is just a little off topic.
How could that remind you of something?
Speaking of car bugs,
No, not even car bugs, but boogers in general.
Oh, okay, here we go.
When I
The
was
true
little,
purpose of the episode.
yeah, I do remember. Like, I don't remember the whole situation. I just remember my dad getting mad at me because one day he came out and they came to the living room where we were in our apartment, and they were like next to our heater. On the wall, I guess I had been like putting my boogers there and hiding them, and my dad found him. He's like, "What's wrong with you?" I don't know how old I was. I must have been like 5.
Yeah, at least 16, 17. He was
for sure.
Oh yeah, I was doing this well into my teenage years.
That's how I got through high school.
The stockpile.
Flicking boogers, people.
Just bing. Deadly accuracy.
My sister would pretend to do that to people she was annoyed at. She's like, pick and flick.
Pick and flick.
That was her evil eye.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
We all do what we have to do to survive.
That's true, man. And when you understand everybody's emotions from the first time you talk to them, sometimes you just got to pick and flick your boogers at them. It's the best way to defend yourself.
Response this far in. Hey, man.
Like, well, this conversation, obviously they didn't care for it. So bloop.
Here we go. Bonk. Right to the dome.
Deadly
Headshot.
accurate.
Headshot.
That's actually how you can get out of being arrested. Just put your finger in your nose, start taking off your clothes, and start trying to touch people with your boog finger.
Cops will
Nobody
back
wants to
off
get close to that.
instantly.
I've literally never been arrested doing that.
So there you go. I mean, you may get shot.
Facts over feelings.
He's got a booger.
Yeah, Corey's never been arrested, but he's been tased every time.
Put down the booger.
His hand was in the shape of the gun. I thought he had a booger cannon.
He was ready to flick at a moment's notice, sir. You don't understand. I had no choice. I had to put him down.
Take him down.
Put him down.
You know what else is ready at a moment's notice? These ads.
What's that? Oh.
Hi, my name is Dosen, Janice. I'm everybody's friend, and I'm here to be your friend. If you need any type of psychic readings, I do tarot, oracle card readings, as well as if you're going through some sort of dark night of the soul situation, I can help you with that. Mentorship, talk therapy, things along those lines. You can contact me at mazy719@gmail. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you for sticking with us in this episode, and thank you for listening to those ads. Corey and Cale.
Yeah.
So for this last segment,
That's us.
We've reached to the last segment of our show. After all of our back and forth between these two choices, which one of the two choices do you think would better benefit everyone on Earth as a whole?
And we're talking about being able to take back something we said one time versus knowing how
Correct.
someone felt after the first conversation.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So which one of those two abilities would you think would benefit everybody on the planet if everybody could have one?
I think the decision that I made, which was taking back something that I said one time per person within a 10 to 15 second time frame.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because like I said, I think a lot of us make mistakes, especially when we're meeting people for the first time, or we need to establish a relationship, an ongoing relationship. Just knowing that I'm going to fuck up a conversation at some point in time with every one of my friends, I think that's the one that I would choose for everybody else, because I would want to give everybody the ability to say, oops, I fucked up. Let's restart this.
Yeah. Yeah. Cale, what about you?
Yeah, man.
I'm going to go flip side of that.
Okay.
I feel like, at least for me, a lot of mistakes I've made in terms of saying something I haven't had or I shouldn't have said has led to a lot of accountability for me, messing up and kind of, like you said earlier, Corey, learning experiences. But I feel like if everybody had the ability to feel how you felt or feel the energy after you have a conversation, we kind of spoke on this on the earlier segment, but I feel like everybody would be vulnerable from that.
That's true.
So there's a lot more potential for you to be, I guess, kinder or more caring or more thoughtful about things because you know the feeling of having a negative reaction from someone else. I feel like that could maybe nullify a lot of people's negative interactions because you know how that feels and it's not a good one.
Right.
I think vulnerability would be a staple of this. So I'm going to choose that, even though I love the idea of being able to take something back. I feel that if everybody kind of felt, not this anxiety, but this kind of vulnerability to where you're like, oh man, I hope this person likes me, or that's not the most important thing in the world, but like, it's nice. You heard Xavier, he's like, I don't like to be disliked. And you followed up with who does. Exactly. Right, I mean, that's everybody. I mean, I feel like everybody would prefer to be liked or admired or something to where you feel good about yourself. That's, I think, a basic emotion of wanting that for everybody. So
yeah, I think that like where we had our last section where we talked about being a kid and growing up and developing with this ability. If everybody had this ability and everybody had this wherewithal, you're right. I think that people would just naturally be more nice, more honest with how they feel and try and really talk around the anger that they have and try and understand what it is that's making them angry and be able to follow the steps of communicating without hurting.
Right.
Yeah.
No, what about you, Xavier? What do you think? What's better for the world?
You know, I was going to choose the first option, taking back something, but I'm seeing, I do see the light of how the second part, where, you know, you get to understand the full feeling about how somebody feels about you after the first conversation you had. I think I'm going to go with that one because that resonates a bit. I feel that having everybody more cognizant of how they're interacting with just either random strangers or people, it like you said, Corey, it would maybe hopefully carry out where somebody's more conscious of being nice and and caring. You know, you don't even have to go so far. It is to really, I mean, you can care, but like show just politeness, be attentive to having that first conversation, knowing that, okay, after this, I'm going to understand what this person thinks of me. I want to leave a good impression. Right. I want this person to walk away like that was a pleasant conversation. I'm glad I met this person. Maybe this will produce another meeting, another hangout, or another conversation later on because you gave them a good impression of yourself and you show to that individual that I'm a good person. I have a lot to share or whatever, that kind of thing. But with all that, like, what if you guys, to ask you guys another question, what if we had the ability to do both? So you could understand how someone felt the first time you have a conversation, but then also take back something that you would want to take back.
Makes life too easy.
Yeah, I think that's an ultimate cheat.
Seriously, that is a cheat code of all cheat codes, man. To be able to say, hey, this is where I lost you, or this is what happened, or this could have turned the tide. Yeah, or even taking back something just to reword it strong, in a more strong, like, verbiage. Yeah. Something to really like hit home something that would have really like pushed something over the top. Like, let's say in a job interview, let's say in a romantic sense. Oh, yeah. It's not taking back something. Oh, damn it. I messed up. It's, I could have said that better. Or I should have said this.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So you can use that in a positive way. I just think it's too easy, man. It's too easy. I mean, if we had that, everybody would be balling out. There's no way you could, or you just straight up not like people. That happens to me all the time. That's true. I feel like
There's
I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I really do. I've been way less pessimistic as I get older. I want to believe that there's good. Sometimes I'm disappointed, obviously, but I want to believe that. So, I mean, just making a good impression on the first thing and then being able to fix it if you didn't is like, what's the point of trying? I can undo this.
Well, you'd still have to try though, like, because you'd only get 10 to 15 seconds to rewind your flub.
That's all I need, Corey.
And not only that, like, you don't know how the conversation went until after the conversation is done. So things are definitely a lot easier for you as far as how you reciprocate that conversation for the next time that you meet. But you'd still have to worry about how you present yourself and the things that you say in the moment. But like we're saying, like this kind of cheat like allows you to really go back and reassess yourself and make sure that you are driving home the point that you want to drive home.
Yeah. This is kind of a dickish thing to say, but I also kind of don't like, even though I would benefit from it, I kind of don't like having a safety net. That's what makes stuff it's what adds meaning to things. I mean, it's what makes organic, like circumstances running into people or doing this or meeting by happenstance. It makes it that spontaneous part. It makes it that story. Oh, how'd you guys meet? Blah, blah, or I ran into you here. Like, well, I just, and even if your first thing doesn't go according to plan, doesn't mean that you can't fix it. True. Short example in my life, one of the guys I care about the most was one of the guys I play basketball with. Was at his wedding, was at all this other stuff. I almost punched this dude in the face the first time I met him.
What's his name? Call it out. We need to know.
If you listen to this, I'm just going to kick your ass.
He was going to hurt you and invite friends to do it.
Oh, yeah. I was going to invite everybody to come kick your ass. No, but I mean, just very physical, a lot of testosterone, just like, this guy's an ass. And I love him, man. Now, I mean, it's just, how things change, and that's a reminder that not everything's set in stone all the time. A conversation, we have this cheat of undoing something, but you can always try to repair something or mend something unless you've been harmed, then
100%.
Fuck them. But
that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. You can always try to repair
if it's good for you.
If it's good,
if that's totally up to you, what your definition of like, is this a good thing for me or not? But if it's a positive thing that'll benefit your life, you can try to fix stuff. The worst thing someone could do is you're already in this situation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, try if it means something to you, I guess.
I really think that just having both of these things, both of these abilities at the same time is just like a great way to be successful in life.
Yeah.
In every sense, like you guys have brought up every example of business-wise, friendships, romantically. I mean, you have a blueprint for let's figure out exactly what will get us to where we want to go.
Right.
And you have the tools and the means to do that.
Yeah. I think it definitely helped. Like, I could see it helping is using developing as an individual and growing with interactions with other people. Just help coach yourself, learning from these opportunities, learning from these conversations, learning how to conduct yourself with strangers, coworkers, employers, stuff like that. I think you could take a lot of constructive learning from it all.
Right. Yeah.
And then save that one time, like, oh man, I really bunked this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use my ace in my hand there to rewind and try to fix that. And then hopefully learn from the future, like not to do that again. Hopefully.
You get
keyword.
Hopefully you get like you get your money's worth out of those 10 seconds. Just go off, man.
Serious.
just talking to your boss or somebody else, just like, oh, I would love just bury you out here. Nobody will find you. Nobody will hear you screaming. And then you're just like 10 seconds.
Yeah. It turns out you rambled for 12 seconds and they get the last bit of what you said.
Like, bury me? What do you mean?
I'll kill you. And then they're just like,
yeah, bury you in cash as a good employee.
You are tippity top, my friend. Yeah. I have no bad things to say anymore.
Employee of the month coming your way.
All
Gold
right.
stars for days.
Gold stars for days.
Something I'm thinking of, kind of based off of the conversation from the last segment about growing up and having these abilities. Like, if we all had these abilities at the same time, it would also be a very unique perspective being able to teach our kids about. I think that like you because we would understand how they would feel based on how we're talking to them and interacting with them, and I think that developing patience would be a lot easier for everybody as you're growing up, because as an adult and as a kid, you both understand each other without really understanding why, because you're at different parts in your life. So patience and communications, I think, would really develop in that kind of scenario.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, you have opportunity, right? Go ahead, Xavier.
Yeah, I know. To touch on what Corey was saying, yeah, patience is key. It's hard. Like, there's some things that are just like, oh my goodness, why are you doing that?
Yes.
Right. Like it's so easy to not be this way.
Yeah, like, come on. I've said the same thing like 5 times. Just don't do that. No, we can't do that yet. Can you wait? No, there's no sense of waiting, time, patience, none of that.
Yeah.
Well, I want this now.
I'm glad that we had this conversation, because this kind of reminded me what I wanted to harbor back to from earlier is the fact of, with this kind of interaction, to where you would feel this way about knowing how someone felt about you, or you're the one that they're going to know how you feel about them. You don't know how much influence or how much effect you have on a person. I'll say this, nobody's straightforward enough to be like, oh man, that would really hurt my feelings if you didn't like me.
Right.
Yeah. So you don't know the kind of sway or how this is more of an example of like meeting someone the first time. So I don't know if those emotions would be there, but just in a general thing, if you've met somebody once, or of somebody or this or that, and you want it to go well, you don't know the power that you have over someone, for lack of a better term, in terms of like, oh, I really hope they like me. And if you come off and you're negative, how badly that could hurt someone without you even thinking a second thought about, oh God, this guy's a weirdo, man. I can't wait to get the hell out of here. But that really could crush another person. Being mindful of like, we don't know the effect that we have on people outside of our scope, because you're not supposed to know that. If we were supposed to know that, we'd know.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that this would make parties really hard? Where you go to a large gathering of people and you don't know most of them?
Yeah. I mean, wow. That's an interesting take on that.
But
I'm glad to throw a monkey wrench in the last 30 seconds of our conversation.
No. Because you're not accounting to one thing.
What's that?
Oh, I was just going to say the liquid courge that I have. I'll be stomping over to people.
Oh, that's true. I
So
call it liquid
party,
rage, but courage works too.
Yeah, and it's
liquid rage is it's fitting.
Yeah, and little do we know that we're talking about a laser tag thing when we were 12. But I'm just drunk, and I'm showing up.
You got to kick his ass over. You got to put your foot on his chest, and then you just keep shooting him in the tummy to rack up those points.
Jeff, do you want to win or you want to ass around?
That's right. Are we here to have fun, or are we here for me to win on your birthday?
I don't care about your birthday. I care about the high score, ass.
I'm winning this one.
I'm going to win.
Oh, man.
Long story short, I win.
The moral of the story, Cale wins. Well, sadly, everyone, this is coming to the end of our show for tonight.
We're here again. It happens every week.
At the end.
What the hell?
I know, it's weird. Somehow we start and end. But
we gotta fix that.
Yeah, we gotta figure something out.
Find some way.
This has been a good one, guys. This is a good conversation. I think that we've had a conversation here with, and it's been good. So
pretty human.
Yeah,
right,
I would say so. Pretty human conversation. So.
Right.
All right, and before we sign off for tonight, you can, if you're interested in checking us out on our social medias, we have our Instagram. It's an Instagram at The Weekly Tall Talk, and also our TikTok at The Weekly Tall Talk. And Cale, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram as well at TallTaleCale with an underscore in between each word and a C instead of a K for Cale, and bearded_giant on TikTok. We're also on YouTube. We've been doing our live shows. We post every episode, even our live shows or our recordings every week. So we appreciate if you take the time to check that out. We are trying to do our live shows more often. We've been cranking them out and we really enjoy doing it. So come by and be in the chat. We always read chat during our live shows, and liking the videos always helps us, gets us out there a little bit more. So we always appreciate that if you take the time, and subscribe if you haven't. You'll get the notification when episode releases if you prefer YouTube over anything else. And we're always trying to do Q&As and answer any questions you guys have or comments on the episode as it's happening. So that's always good. We love the interaction. So like, subscribe, all the annoying stuff that you hear everywhere. Do it for us.
All the above. Yeah.
Please.
Corey, what about you?
Well, if you want to find me, the only place I'm at is Instagram.com. You can find me at Corey.Andre, Corey.Ondrey. And if you have any more questions or you are interested in talking to us and looking into the show more, please consider going to our Patreon at patreon.com/TallTaleNetwork, which is the name of our parent company. There, when you subscribe, you have access to our Discord. You have access to us personally via Discord. And on our Discord, we have a lot of, we post a lot of our sources, a lot of the photos that we talk about during our episodes. And that's where we try and get back to people. But if you prefer just to email us and ask us some questions, you can email us at talltalenetwork@gmail.com. And we really appreciate all of you for being here. Cale, thank you for being a part of this. Xavier, thank you so much for hosting. And
my pleasure, John.
We will tall tale you later.